Hey Postables, you're listening to Deliver Me a Podcast, brought to you by Kaycee, Jess, and Cammie. A special thanks to James Jandrisch for letting us use the music on our show. Now, grab some yoo-hoo or a kombucha, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome back, Postables! We are back today to talk about the next movie in the series, Home Again. And so we're going to just dive into the letter story, and then we'll do Rita and Sholiver as their own kind of separate talks, because there's a lot going on. In this movie,
they deserve their own segments.
That's true. That's true. All right, so the movie starts with three sisters, Peggy, Mary Lou, and Bunny, mailing a package. And the clerk, played by the lovely Peter Benson, and I just love the very small little dialogue that he has with them is, "What do you have in here anyway?" And the little girl is like, "Hope." Like, "Aw."
It was actually really intriguing because I'm like, what is in that box?
Yeah. I don't think anyone would have foresaw, well, unless you saw the cover of the DVD before you watched it.
Or you watched the preview, which had the vase, But
I didn't see either, so.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
Nope.
It's a very surprising element, I think, that it's a vase in the box.
And the vase has its own journey.
Oh my gosh.
The long journey.
The movie should have been done from the perspective of the vase, just where it goes. Should have just put a camera on the vase, done everything from its perspective.
Like its own character, which essentially it is its own character, but
I mean, yeah, basically.
But can I just say how adorable Mr. Everett's dialogue is with the girls, because he's just sweet. He's just so sweet with the girls. He's obviously very, very caring about them. You can tell he loves them. And I remember my husband was watching with me, and when he lifted it up, it said, "He can't do that. He'd have to cover it with his money." Sweetheart, he's making it look official for them. He's gonna cover it. But it just, it was just sweet. He made them feel official. He made them feel important. He didn't turn them away. And and it's obvious that they need help, and he's helping them. It's just like what he says to the Postables later on. "I never forget my neighbors." And I think that's in more ways than one. He remembers all of them, but he also remembers to think of them and remembers to think of their feelings.
Yeah, and I think part in that is, it's a small community too, and that's a lot of small town communities. Everybody knows everybody, everybody looks out for everybody. And so, it's really nice to see that, because you're kind of like, oh, I wish I had that, because I live in a big city.
All right, so moving right along. So the Postables discover this vase after a little incident where a certain someone takes a hammer through the wall. Not naming any names here.
Okay, so when this scene happened, you guys, I started laughing my head off, because that would probably be me, to be honest. So whenever we're hanging things, I'm just like, let's just eye it. And my husband is definitely the type, like Oliver, to get out his like the straight edge thing and the level, and then like measuring everything to make sure that everything is right. Yes, we have a stud finder. Actually, I think I have level in here somewhere. But anyways, he's very particular about the like placement of, making sure it's perfect. And I, like Shane, would be one to take a hammer and accidentally hammer a wall.
Okay, but she wasn't even close to the nail.
I will say,
the nail was here. She was here.
Well, I will say the other thing too is, now, unlike Shane, I would take a gentle tap. Okay, but
you don't need much for a nail in the wall.
What?
I mean, like she was trying to tear that thing down. What now?
She was like trying to split some wood there, but
she's trying to be a wood chopping Hallmark hunk.
Oh, shame. Oh, shame.
Oh, shame.
But they discover this secret room. Well, let's start with the fact they're in a new DLO space now. So they're in a new space. So old DLO is gone.
Sad.
I know.
I really like that space.
I know. But real quick, because I know there are a lot of postables who have asked this question multiple times, and I can't remember if it might have been Kristen or Crystal.
It was Kristen.
It was Kristen.
And Kristen told us that in her interview.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Kristen told us in her interview the reasoning behind the change of the space. And so basically the old DLO set was no longer available. But if you want the longer story, you can go back and listen to Kristen Booth's interview with us.
And neither was the mailbox grill.
Yes.
Yeah, they lost the set for the mailbox grill as well, which is just
yeah, sad.
So much happened in those two sets, you know. Mm-hmm. So many things happened in those two sets, and so it's just
yeah, but they covered it really well. I mean,
yeah, they covered it very well.
For me, I was kind of like, oh, it's Ramon. Of course he got a new restaurant. No big deal. I mean, of course I missed the mailbox grill, but it didn't strike me as odd that they weren't in the mailbox grill. And then the whole idea of, you know, the old DLO being for online shipping, like, I mean, that makes sense too, because they have that giant chute and like it's a giant room, and
yeah,
it all kind of makes sense, especially in today's world where everything's, you know, we're buying everything online. So I think they covered it really, really well. It really didn't strike me as odd.
Oh, they did.
But
yeah.
So they find this back room in the DLO, the new DLO, and it apparently was the space where a man named Harry Snap used to hang out, and they find all this mail because, you know, there's this whole postal lore about Harry Snap and how he used to sit around during lunch breaks with like scratching the lottery tickets or something, and they find the lost mailbag of Harry Snap, and they go through the mail, and a lot of it's junk mail until Shane picks up a box. She's just causing all kinds of trouble here, you know. She's being a little clumsy.
She's in love. I mean, that's what happens when you're in love.
And Norman is the one who saves the day.
Wasn't exactly being moony-eyed. She wasn't being moony-eyed at that point. She was just being quick and fast.
He was klutzy though. Her mind is not on the safety of boxes or walls. Her mind is on Oliver and how good he looks in that plaid suit with the yellow rose.
Hey, we're not on Sholiver right now.
Yeah,
I'm just justifying why Shane is busting through walls and picking up broken boxes and almost smashing, you know, a hundreds-old vase.
Yeah. But Jess is right. Norman does save the day.
He does. He's quick.
The movie would have ended right there.
Shattered vase.
With a shattered vase.
And thank goodness he does, because we know that vase is worth quite a bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
My word. That's another funny scene, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh my goodness. Yes, we'll get to that. One of my favorite scenes in this movie. Okay. But anyway, so they find a letter inside the vase, and they learn about this kind of family farm legacy. All the women become farmers. They learn that the vase was a gift from the man who married
their great grandmother, grandmother Betty.
Betty, that's right. So that was a wedding gift, and that they knew that the person who was thinking about buying it needed to see it to, you know, determine the worth. And that it was called their just in case vase because they knew it was probably worth a lot of money, but they really tried for as long as they possibly could not to sell this vase.
Can I interject something really quick here, because I wrote this down as something that kind of struck me. You know, my husband was watching with me, like I said, and when they said that this vase has been through 5 generations, he said, wait a minute, World War II? And he started doing the math. Of course, my husband started doing the math. He's like, that doesn't make sense. It hasn't been 5 generations since World War II. And so I went back and it was 2. It was 2. But I went back and watched it again, and the wording in the letter said 5 generations have lived with the vase. So it goes back to great grandmother, great grandma Betty's mother, because she was still in the house. She was still in the house when great grandma Betty brought it back. And so I was like, that is the 5th generation. And then we counted, and then it made sense. So for anybody doing the math, it does make sense, because great grandma was still in the house when great grandma Betty brought the vase and her baby back.
In order to start tracking down the family, they decide to look into the vase. Is kind of where their starting point is. Let's learn about this vase, and maybe from there we can find who it belonged to. And so we learn that Norman's cousin Serge has a twin, Igor, because Norman needs more cousins, right?
And who'd have thunk it? They look so alike.
There's an uncanny resemblance.
No. And he just so happens to be the associate director of decorative arts at a museum. Because, again, all his cousins have very interesting jobs.
Very. I do have to say, you know, after the character of Serge, who is so silent and so weird, you know, the fact that we see the same actor, the fact that we see the same actor come back and just being completely talkative, totally friendly, and very knowledgeable and educated. I was like, that's cool. That's a cool twist to be able to bring another level to the characters that surround the Postables.
Yeah. And so Igor, they bring it to Igor, and he looks it over, and he's able to tell them that it's, quote, either quite valuable or an excellent reproduction. So very likely this could be worth a lot of money. And let's talk about Norman's face.
I was gonna say, Norman nearly chokes.
Because if he thinks they're talking about hundreds, like $250, $300 or something, and they're talking about $250.
Well, 500. 500 is what he said.
That's what he said.
500 and yeah, 500 and oh no, not that much. 250, maybe $300,000.
It's hilarious. Matt does those little expressions so well, as he's like, what? We're talking about 250, 300,000.
And again, we are glad that Shane did not drop that exorbitant amount of money on the floor, smashing it to bits.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That would have been bad.
Yeah.
And so after they learn that about the vase, we also have a second storyline of using Dale, our lovely friend Dale, to help with the investigation, because Dale is very resourceful. And so it's actually Shane who suggests that Oliver consult Dale. And then Shane, of course, is like, Rita, you go with him, please.
You're gonna go with him.
You're gonna be our little interchange,
like. Okay, and I know we're not there yet.
Sure.
But let's talk about this for a second.
Okay.
Like, why? I'm surprised that Shane is still a little insecure at this moment.
I thought it was more of it was awkward. It was like, I don't know that I would want to go see my boyfriend's old flame-ish. Like, I don't even want to call her an old flame because they were never a thing. But like, it would just be awkward to be like, I would almost feel like I'm rubbing it in your face. I got the guy that you couldn't get.
No. I'm not surprised that Shane didn't go. I'm surprised she told Rita to go with him.
Well, scoping out stuff. Like, is she cool? Is she cool? Because we want to make sure she's cool before I go say, what's up, Dale?
Yeah, that definitely could be it, that she's scoping out. But they're, like Oliver said, they're a very early thing. And because Shane, even though she is a lot more modern than Oliver, because for Oliver, one kiss did make a contract, and then that second kiss sealed the contract and made it completely unbinding.
Yes, it did.
For Shane, yes, it did. But for Shane, things are a little different. And so
she knows Oliver. She knows Oliver. Like, what does she have to worry about?
She does. No, I don't think she necessarily has anything to worry about. Just, let's err on the side of caution, shall we? And Rita, you go with him.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily that she doesn't trust Oliver. It could be the fact that she's still a little leery about Dale.
Yeah, she doesn't trust Dale.
Yeah. So
okay, that I can understand a little more.
Yeah,
I can understand a little more. Because I'm like, why does she but that makes more sense.
I love Rita's reaction. Like, are you sure you're okay doing it? Oh, of course. And you go with him.
And then it's so awkward for Rita, and she's just like, dude.
Well, and then Oliver can't even finish a sentence regarding Dale.
Oh, I know.
And there was can we just change the subject?
I know, he's so tongue-tied and flustered.
I mean, obviously Dale is still a very hard subject, because if things had been completely removed, then I don't think he would have had that trouble. So
yeah,
obviously it's still a very awkward subject for him.
Yeah. And I mean, for Oliver, it would be just because he doesn't want to lose a friend, especially someone who's been there for him for the last 18 years.
That's true.
At the end of Lost Without You, they didn't really end on good terms, in a sense. I mean, they're fine. He had never led her on, and she had never led him on. It was just at that moment, it was like the light bulb went off for Oliver, and was like, oh, stink, this girl has a crush on me, and I don't care for her that way. So when he asks where Shane is, and he sees her crestfallen face, I mean, that would be awkward for him to go back to Dale and be like, so
favor?
I need a favor, and I have a girlfriend, but she's not my girlfriend because I haven't really said she's my girlfriend. So she's more like,
we haven't put a label on it yet, guys.
Yeah.
We haven't used the G word.
It's not Facebook official because Oliver doesn't have Facebook. So.
And Oliver can only say the word thing. So.
Oh my gosh.
But I think it also just shows how much Oliver does care for Dale as a friend, because he doesn't want to hurt her.
Oh yeah.
And so, I appreciate the fact that he can't even get his words out, but then it's also very known for Dale, like, okay, we're definitely just friends, and he's gonna, be with a great woman.
Mm-hmm.
He's very sensitive to her feelings, which is, nice for a change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Oliver. I'm talking about, a lot
general,
of characters that we see.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. All right. Well, back to the letter story. So,
right.
So Dale helps them narrow down a county, and then eventually Shane and Oliver are able to find me the son of the original dealer that was interested in the piece. And he said, and the son says they would still be interested in buying this piece, and he is able to help them, I think, narrow down to a city. And
that kid from Edgewood.
Yeah, that kid from
Edgewood.
And that's kind of how they get to find the Kessler family farm, is just these small conversations.
And can I also say they also run into Mr. Everett, And
Yes,
my, that man does not age. Still looks good since 1999.
That man uses some excellent moisturizer.
See the water in Edgewood.
Yeah, that's it. It's the water in Edgewood.
Yes. So yeah, sorry, I forgot that. They did go back to the clerk, aka Mr. Everett, aka Peter Benson. And he's the one who leads them to really the Kessler family farm.
Mm-hmm.
And and basically they learn that they do still live there until Saturday because it's up for auction.
Yeah. And we also find out that they are still a family too, because that was a big concern. That's what I was going to say about from the letter story.
And Norman is the one who asked it, which I think is very telling. Are they still a family? Because Norman is the one that was put into foster care, and so he was probably worried about the plight of those girls.
Yeah.
So,
especially having them having lost their father too.
Yeah, they lost their father. Their mom was depressed. And these girls.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, I remember the first time watching the movie and watching Rita read that part of the letter. Like 6 months ago, Daddy died in a tractor accident. I was like, oh my gosh, that was heartbreaking. That was so heartbreaking. And, after hearing about all the trouble that they had already gone through, with the cow epidemic, and sometimes they would have to resort to very little food to pay for the hay, and now they really are at the breaking point because Daddy died and Mom can't get out of bed, and just it's so sad. And you've got two little girls. You've got a 10-year-old and maybe a 12-year-old being parents to a 5-year-old. They're trying to take care of Bunny. They're going to school. They're trying to trade milk to pay the bills. It's just, it is daunting for me to even think about trying to do all of that at 10 and 12.
Yeah, there's a lot of strength, but we know that the Kessler women are hardworking women, and they have fought for their farm, and they're still fighting for their farm.
Yes, and the girls, it says in the credits, their ages, they are 12, 6, and 11. So Peggy is 12, Mary Lou is 11, and Bunny is 6. And then when we go to the future, Peggy is 30, Bunny is 24, and Mary Lou is 28. So they were very, very young girls when they lost their dad. 12, 11, and 6.
The script said when she said I was 10. So
maybe she just turned 11, her birthday.
Maybe.
Anyway. They were young. But so they arrive at the farm, and they immediately meet Abby, who is Peggy's daughter. And I love how she just starts questioning all of their relationship statuses.
It's so like a little kid, and she acted younger than I thought she would. Because she seemed to be a little bit older, but she was kind of acting like a 6-year-old herself. And it just shows that I thought that she and Bunny were a lot alike in just how sweet and innocent and childlike they are. And, it was so cute. She was so unassuming. She was so precious, and just immediately trusted them, was immediately their friend. And it was cute. It was very sweet.
It was cute.
Yes. And then she lovingly forces Oliver and Shane to come see the cows, to Oliver's delight.
Takes his hand. So cute. Just takes his hand and leads him out. I was like, man, that's something I probably would have done.
And Oliver admits he's only been on a farm one time before. It's like, Oliver, oh goodness.
The funny thing is, in real life, Eric Mabius is like an outdoorsy kind of dude.
Yeah.
He's a woodsman. Yeah, that is so funny.
It's like, he doesn't need any hand sanitizer for petting that cow. Come on.
That was cute, but we're not on Sholiver yet, so I'm gonna be quiet.
Okay. Yes. So then they get to meet the rest of the family. They meet the mom, Kim, Peggy, and Aunt Bunny. And so Oliver tells them basically that they're going to need all 3 signatures to give them the vase back. And that's when we learn that Mary Lou is not there, and she has not been home in like at least 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because she is
it was ever since that Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's a news correspondent.
Mm-hmm.
And she was doing a special overseas. But yeah, they after that big argument Christmas 2 years ago, she left and hasn't been seen since.
Yeah, and that's a big strain between her and Peggy.
Yeah.
In the family.
Ooh.
And this story really, like, I don't know, it just hit me because, you know, especially being like just me and my sister in the family, and I know, like, you know, sometimes when you're fighting, like, all the mother wants is for her daughters to get along. And I feel like my mom does the same thing when my sister and I fight. She's like, I just want you two to get along. And so I really could feel like the mother's emotion of like, I just want like these 2 sisters to be reconciled. Not only because of that, but, you know, the mother also is learning that she has something, she's dying. She would probably love to have her 3rd daughter come back home. They haven't spoken to Mary Lou, so they haven't been able to tell her what's going on. So it's really kind of sad. And now they're losing the farm, and the mother isn't able to die in the legacy of their family home.
Yeah. And I gotta say, Peggy was kind of a jerk, honestly, because, okay, she's the oldest. And so as the oldest, you're technically taking responsibility of what your siblings do. And so she basically kind of let Mary Lou send that vase off, even though she had her reserves. She didn't put her foot down and say, "You are not sending this. I will."
They were all there.
They were all there.
The names were there.
Like, she was part of it too. It's just that Mary Lou, and even as a young age, she's got that journalistic, researchy mind type of thing. And so she's like a Kessler woman. She finds ways to get them out of a pickle. And that was her way of getting them out of the situation that they were in. And yet Peggy was just like so mean to Mary Lou. Like, no wonder she didn't want to come home, because if I had a sibling like that, I would be like, I'm good. Like, I don't want to be around somebody who's so negative, who's going to blame me every single year for the next 15 years that I sent this vase off, despite the fact that you were there, despite the fact that you're my older sister and you could have stopped me. Like, there have been so many things. Like, I would not want to be around somebody like that. And then with Mary Lou, I found this interesting. She, at a very young age, has a way with words, with that letter that is put in the vase. And she writes this wonderful story about her family and their family history. And for somebody who's like a 10, 11-year-old, that doesn't come naturally to 10 and 11-year-olds. Like, they're not interested in their family's history.
It might be a 1 page.
Yes.
It might be a 1 page. And that thing was
like several pages.
long.
Yes. And it went back to the history of like the entire vase and everything. So I really love the connection with her being a journalistic reporter, because it just carried on with her. And I thought that was super cool, because it's so in character with Mary Lou. So anyways, those are just my little tidbits about this part of the letter story.
Yeah.
When I spoke to Laura Bertram, I asked her about playing a very bitter character, and she talked about how the character of Peggy just let everything seep in and she couldn't really let go of it, and she felt the burden that, like what you were saying, that she probably felt the burden that she didn't stop her. So we'll have to put that interview out, because that I'll send the link to put in the comments, because it's a really interesting story that she told me.
Yeah, I was gonna say it really just seems like Peggy's projecting her own guilt
Yeah.
onto Mary Lou. Like Peggy feels the guilt
Yeah.
of, I did this too, and this could have saved our farm, and now we don't have it because we sent it away.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I mean the fact, even though she is that way, the fact that Mary Lou left and Bunny is not an adult. You know, she's a very childlike adult.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell with the way she acts, the way she talks, the way her mother talks about her. And so Peggy has this incredible weight on her. She's taking care of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that Mary Lou has not been seen for 2 years, mom's dying, she has a daughter, the farm's being sold, you know, that's an incredible weight to be put on anybody. And obviously Abby's father is not in the picture, and Kim talks about Peggy's broken heart. And so, you know, yeah, I don't condone the way she acted, but it's a lot. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And then a little later on, Oliver and Shane go off with Kim, and they learn more about her illness. And I think it's really interesting, this scene, because Kim describes 3 of the cows, Suki, Polly, and Arabelle, that Suki is stubborn, Polly likes the parlor, and Arabelle likes to wander. And she's basically describing her 3 daughters. And I love that parallel and that correlation.
Okay, so Mary Lou's the stubborn one. Bunny likes to wander. Or no.
Mary Lou likes to wander.
No. Yeah, Mary Lou
Peggy's
likes
stubborn.
to wander. Peggy's the stubborn one. And
Bunny's
Polly
in the parlor.
well, it says the first, well, yeah, she's still in the parlor because if she doesn't get out first, she stays in there all the time.
So yeah, I thought that was fun.
I really like the way that mom came down on Peggy, because she talked about following, that everybody followed their heart. Actually, if you're watching on YouTube, I have my, there it is, kind of. It's a necklace that my husband gave me that says "Follow your heart." So I wore it just for this. And but I love that. I love what she says, that you followed your heart, it got broken, and you brought all the pieces back here. And Bunny followed her sweet little heart, even if it was just to the back fence. You can just right there, that just shows a lot about Bunny's temperament and how she is very much a homebody and wants to stay on the farm. And then she says Mary Lou followed her heart, and everybody needs to have a self-discovery. Everybody needs to follow their heart and figure themselves out. So I really liked the way that mom kind of put her foot down with Peggy.
Yeah, kind of put her in her place a little bit.
Then they go back to the house and they learn a little bit more about the vase. They get to see some of the photo album and things like that. And the Postables learn that the vase was received in France. And Shane immediately is on to something. You can see it in her face. She's like, oh no. And basically, to kind of make a long story short, we learned that the vase is very valuable, but the vase does not belong to the Kesslers family, because it was originally, way back when, in whatever century, was stolen, and then again kind of kept getting passed down and eventually ended up with the family. But the vase is not theirs. So the Postables are in a pickle.
Which is really, really tragic. I mean, this is the part of the movie that almost broke me. You know, I'm just like, ugh, after all of that, it's not theirs. Come on. Oh, this was the part of the movie that almost broke me. It just,
especially because
it was rough.
Yeah, especially because Oliver goes through all that trouble to get Mary Lou to sign off on the vase and everything.
The video chat.
I know.
And you'd think there's like a statute of limitations on things like expensive vases and art history. Like, isn't it like it's kind of like the rule of like, if it's been in lost and found for 30 days, then it's yours. Pay 25 cents.
What? I'm bringing in the wrong show here, but Constable Nathan Grant, possession is 9/10 of the law. But I mean, that was kind of my take, Kaycee. It's like this vase has been in the possession of this family for a very, very long time, since the 1940s.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden you're just gonna take it away from them when they need it the most. And I thought that they should, especially since Johann Rubel put it in a museum,
mm-hmm.
I thought that there should have been some kind of compensation. You know, for them to just be expected to just give it up. I thought that didn't sit right with me. That is the only thing that did not sit right with me.
See, I'm the opposite of you two.
Like,
I completely get it.
Really?
You're like, well, it was in this family for so long, but it was the same way for the other family, and it got ripped from them.
I know it was. Yeah, no, that's true. But
I mean, I wasn't as bothered. I wasn't as bothered by it. It was just a fleeting.
It's tragic. I mean, it's tragic.
It's very sad. But you have to also think of it this way too. It kind of shows that element of faith on the Kessler family part, because they had this vase. They put all their faith in this vase to like save them and their farm whenever they needed it, right? Because they knew it was like a lot of money. They probably didn't expect it to be like 250, 300K. But once that vase was taken away from them, they still had the faith to keep going. Even the mom reminded them, like, you know what? We didn't have the vase since 1999 anyways. It's okay. It's okay that we have to give this vase back to its rightful owner. And what ends up happening is, because they have this faith of like, you know, that things will be okay. Things do turn out okay, because everything happens for a reason. And in the end, we find out that their farm is secured by the right person. Yeah. And it's kind of like one of those moments where, you know, things in life are just like falling apart all over you, but you never know what's going to happen. And you never know, like, just taking that step of faith and just be like going into something scary and going into the unknown, and just knowing that, you know, if you're a believer, like God will hold you in his hands, and he's not going to let you fall. And just like with the Kesslers family, and I know this is completely fictional, but it's the same idea.
You know, we get very deep with these characters.
And I think that's the magic of Martha and her writing, especially with these elements of faith, because it's not a religious story per se. You don't really hear a whole lot of religion on this part, but you can tell that there is that element incorporated through this story and through the Kesslers story.
And it's not pushy, which she is incredibly good at.
Right. But Kim, you know, she talks about the fact that she believes in God, and we can see that faith she puts in him, because she's like, we're giving the vase back, and then she says at the end, we never needed the vase. Like, she tells her girls, we never needed the vase. Like, we didn't need to put our faith in this vase.
Right. But in order for the girls to see that too, the vase had to be taken away from them.
Now that part I will completely agree with, that the, you know, when are you two going to get it through your heads that we didn't need the vase? But I still, that part made me very sad.
Yeah. I love the mom in this story.
Yeah.
Oh, she is fantastic. Kim Delaney is such a great actress.
Yeah.
But yes, the farm does get saved, because who ends up buying the farm at the auction? Anybody you know?
The man in the back. The man in the back in the suit.
That lovely O'Toole Foundation from Oliver's Mr. Harvey Schmidt's father, creator, inventor, whatever he was, saving the day.
Yet again, what's funny is the panning of the camera, because you pan the camera, you see the crowd, you see a dude in a suit. It's not Oliver. You know that's not Oliver. And then you pan again and you think that that's the man that gets it, because again, you see the suit and then you hear the guy, the auctioneer say, you know, the man in the back or whatever. And then it's Oliver and you're like, where did you come from? Like, poof.
Yeah, I mean, the auctioneer says the man in the back, but we don't see the man in the back. It's just, and then Oliver vocally says 400, and it just, which this just came to me. The vase was worth $250 or $300,000, and Oliver pays $400,000 for the farm, which was $100,000 more than what they would have gotten for the vase. That just occurred to me. Oh my gosh!
They're continuing to pay for anything related to the financial well-being of the property. So he's really pledging even more than that too.
I love Martha's writing.
But there's stipulations. There's a catch.
There's a catch,
you know, which is that it has to stay a farm. Whew, that's a big one, you know, there. And there has to be an education center. And they just have the perfect couple to help build and run it.
Which Norman saved the day again. It was his idea. It was him talking to Bill and Sonny and said, "You were farmers?" It was Norman who made the connection, and who I don't think he came up with the entire idea, but he came up with the means to run it. Norman saved the day again.
Go Norman, Oliver. And I just love the little scene at the end where Oliver says to Kim that you are now free to live here till the cows come home. And just the look that he shares with Kim, because they're both spiritual people, and you can just see that gratitude and their kindred spirits. And there's something just that moment just like really touches me. Just the way they look at each other.
Yeah. And it's bringing back the conversation that they had about Kim's favorite time of day, when the cows come home. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna cry. It was very, very beautiful.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and she knows too, like now, because she's not gonna probably live much longer. She's got her daughters with her, because Mary Lou does come home, and there is reconciliation between Mary Lou and Peggy. And she'll have her family around her when she goes off and passes away. So
yes,
when the cows come home.
Vase is back with its owner. Mary Lou is home. The farm is saved, and they have a note from Mr. Rubel too. That it ends kind of with that. The story ends with him showing his gratitude, and then he put it in the museum, and everything's all good. Everything is right in the world, and there's happy cows.
Happy cows, happy family,
happy people. Yeah. So that wraps up the letter story. Wow, we talked a long time about that. I mean, it's a big story.
I know.
It is a big story.
Postivals, we're glad you love us, because we're gonna keep going.
It's gonna keep going. All right, let's move to Rita. So
I move that Norman be nominated for VIP of this movie.
Ooh, I have to counter you on that. And I will get to it in Shaliver, but I'm gonna have to counter you on that.
Okay.
I see where you're at. I do agree. All Norman is great, but there is another moment. Maybe they could be co.
Let's do co. Yeah, let's do co. I think I know what you're talking about, but
you probably do, because you know me.
The benefit of being friends with coworkers.
But the whole thing with Norman and Rita in this movie is that Rita's parents come to meet poor Norman, and Norman, when he's nervous, gets convulsions.
Oh my god.
He gets the irks.
He gets the irks.
And everything that can go wrong does go wrong in that very first moment.
I still think that it was very much Ramon's fault. He pushed the button. He didn't put the lid on the blender. You never push the button without the lid.
You have to suspend some belief here, because who pushes the button without the lid on, especially when you have it full of liquid?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you have to suspend some belief
Norman. Everybody's blaming Norman.
Well, it's really not about the glasses, and I think we know that it's really not about the glasses. It's the fact that,
No, it's not. But
father has a little complex here.
That's the straw that breaks the camel's back, is the glasses being put in the blender.
Yeah.
But before we get too far, what were you guys' first impressions of Rita's parents? Let's go there. What were your first impressions of her parents?
Hippies. Hippies in every sense of the word.
So the one thing that stuck out to me, just knowing that Crystal Lowe is half Chinese, half Caucasian, I was surprised that one of her parents wasn't Asian.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and the other thing too is Rita looks nothing like her parents at all. Like, you have to suspend a lot of disbelief to believe that she is the child of this couple. That was the one thing
that's probably why they put the glasses on mom. That's probably why they put glasses on mom.
Oh yeah, because Rita wears glasses too. But like, that was the one thing that really stood out to me, was like, it didn't make sense in my mind, because they just they did not look like a normal, they did not look like a family together,
a biological
family. That was definitely one thing. And like, I was thinking maybe like a Chip, like Joanna Gaines and her parents, because I think her mom is Korean, maybe.
I believe you're right.
And her dad is Caucasian, and then like they have 3 daughters, and so like I was thinking it more like that in my head whenever I would think of Rita. But that was the one thing that really stood out.
Yeah, I will agree. I think the casting could have been done better for her parents.
I agree that she didn't look very much like her parents. I think they added glasses on mom to make it look more like it. But I have to admit, it didn't really bother me. I was like, okay, mom and dad, you are hippies. I think that's what I grasped onto more, was their personalities and how they were kind of like, wah, they are very 70s. So yeah, that's what I grasped onto more, was their strange personalities and the contrast in their reactions with Norman more than their looks.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So for me, Rita's parents, Bilbo.
I love that. Bilbo, like the Hobbit.
I was kind of like, okay.
I mean, I can't say too much, because I have a cousin who's named Arwen after Lord of the Rings, the elf. But because she's my cousin, I grew up knowing her as Arwen, and I didn't know that was Lord of the Rings when I was a little girl, and so I think Arwen and Bilbo are 2 very different things. I just like, wow, those parents really, really like The Hobbit.
I will say,
and it's all of Bilbo's shirts, that just shows, yikes, we are living in the 70s here.
I will say, Barry Bostwick has the best deadpan expressions.
Does.
The other thing too, even my husband, when he would watch this movie with me once, he was like, this guy's funny. He's just like,
Barry is amazing. Barry is amazing with his facial expressions. It's especially the facial expressions towards Norman. I know that's where he does most of his deadpan, but it's just, are you kidding me?
This dude for my daughter?
Not a chance.
Oh my gosh. Poor Norman. Because on one hand, I feel like you're like, you're just mad at dad, like, what is, like, why are you so shallow, you know? Because, but then on the other hand, you're like, I can kind of get it. On a surface level, this is not what he pictured. You know, every dad probably has an image, and he sees Norman as like, this is not it. But it's like, it's because he doesn't know Norman's heart yet.
We've seen the history. Yeah, we've seen the history. We know how perfect they are for each other. And so, yeah, it's really hard to not get mad at Bilbo, but on the other hand, it's just like,
you can kind of see it.
Cut him a tiny bit of slack, but you don't have to be such a jerk about it.
Yeah. Not a jerk about it, because you know he probably imagines like this buff man, probably, because he's like, you know, kind of a buff man himself.
He's tall,
very rugged kind of man.
And works with Norman, his hands.
Who Sonny describes as a woodland creature. You remind me of a small woodland creature.
Word.
Because Rita's the only child and she is daddy's girl. I mean, I'm sure growing up, Rita told her dad, I want to marry someone just like you. And because they obviously have this daddy-daughter connection.
Yeah.
So when he sees 5'6", 5'7" Norman here,
maybe,
because I think Crystal's like 5'7", 5'8" or so. She's tall. Something like that. But when Bilbo sees this short, very awkward, very strange young man who he's acting strange. I mean, we all love Norman. We know he's not strange. It's just at surface level, he's like, this dude is not tall. He is not rugged. And he's got the irks. My husband said that my dad would give him the deadpan expressions like Bilbo. And that's why it was so funny for him.
Oh, that was why it's so funny for him.
This is like your dad when we first started dating. He would like not even look at me, just like this dude over here looking at me like,
my brothers give my husband the deadpan expression.
My brother would give my husband the deadpan expression too.
Yeah,
they all love him now. I mean, like, everybody gets along great. Actually, I'm pretty sure that my whole family likes my husband better than they like me most of the time. So it's all good.
It's that testing phase there.
Yeah.
Make sure the man stands up to
Yeah.
But Norman does stand up, but it just takes Dad a long time to figure that out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I love when Rita just kind of lets him have it. Like, she gets serious.
Gosh.
Yes.
I would love to have that kind of guts with my parents. I was never really that brave. I would never be that brave. And I've had to tell my parents to let me be my own person a time or two, but I don't know if I could really give it to them the way that Rita did.
Well, it's Rita's version of giving it to him, so it's not like super like she's not going off the wall at him, but it was she's gotten to being mad.
Yeah. Well, and it's really good. You know, it's really
like you
good
can just hear the tone change, and it's Crystal did a really good job with it.
Yeah, and she goes for the gut too.
She does.
It's not just
for the gut.
Yeah, and it's not just like, these are my feelings and this is my fiance. How dare you? Like how some women would go off on their parents about that stuff. She turns it around and she puts it on her dad, and she's like, you know what? I wanted to marry a guy like you, and and she goes off and she kind of in a roundabout way says Norman is the one. He's kind, he's generous, he's all these wonderful things like you were. And now you can't even see that. And like basically in a roundabout way, she's basically saying, you're not the man I thought you were, daddy.
Yeah.
Which from a daughter saying that to a dad who's been that like rock and that like superhero and like, you know, the savior of like his daughter and his little girl, hearing that from like tiny, sweet little Rita is like a punch to the gut.
She brings it home, if you'll pardon the pun. Home again.
She does.
Well, then we have that one last addition from Joe. He just adds that last zinger. Maybe you're the one that needs the glasses.
Oh my gosh! I loved it. I loved Joe in that part. And you know, when Bill says, "Did you hear any of that?" easily gone, no, didn't hear a thing. But he said, sure did. Yeah, just like, yeah, Joe.
And the other thing too is Bill can't get mad at Joe for speaking his mind because Bill asked the question.
Yeah.
Bill could have easily just stormed off, walked away, not said anything to Joe. And it would be a little out of Joe's place to address it then. But because Bill said, did you hear any of that? That immediately opened like a door for Joe to be straight with him and be like, no.
And even though he was straight with him, he was still very careful with him.
Yes.
He just said, looks like you're the one that needs the glasses, because Joe, in a analogy sense of the word, has had glasses because he has seen Norman and Rita, and he has seen what they do for each other. And he says it at the very beginning. When I heard about these two, I was so happy. And so Joe is trying to share the glasses with Bill, and he gives it to him straight, but he's still gentle. And I love Joe. I love Papa.
I know.
He does such a great job of like distracting them. They work on the room together.
Oh my gosh, he is amazing. And that's the other reason why Bill can't get mad at him, because he has established a rapport. Joe has Bill's respect in every sense of the word. So so he can't get mad at him.
And while we're talking about Joe, can we just really fast talk about Shane and Joe and the relationship here real fast? I love that Shane calls reinforcements and she's like, Joe, give me a hug. Rita's parents are here and I need help. Hey guys.
And Joe just like gets it. He's like, oh, I know exactly what's going on. Got it. I'm on it.
He's got that great intuition. I love Shane and Joe's relationship.
I do too.
Love it.
My husband thought that it was weird that she gave him a hug, and I said, oh no, those two are very close. Those two are tight. It's just awkward because his hands are full, so he can't hug her back.
And also, if you have to tell someone a secret message, a hug is a perfect way to get next to their ear.
Perfect.
Yes. Yeah. They need more scenes together.
I think that especially with the wedding coming up and Shane's lack of father, I think that if we have a wedding, I think that we're gonna, because when you think about it, oh my gosh, idea forming fan fiction writing on the way. I think that Norman is going to be the best man. Oh gosh, I'm going to cry. I think Joe's going to walk Shane down the aisle.
Yeah, I've been saying that for years.
I think that, well, it's an epiphany to me, okay? I think that Joe is going to walk Shane down the aisle.
Probably.
And that will, oh gosh, that'll be the epitome. And of course, we're going to have the moment before when they're talking, right before they walk. And he's going to say how much she has done for his son. And it's good. Okay. We need to email Martha right now. Dear
I already got that written. I think I would love to see a scene with Shane asking Joe to walk her down the aisle.
Oh my gosh, that is gonna, and just how touched he appears.
And yes, and they can have this like very precious moment because she doesn't have her dad anymore because he's passed away, and Joe doesn't have a daughter, and so it'd be a privilege for him to walk Shane, his new daughter in love, to down the aisle, and they can have the father-daughter dance, and we could all be a pile of tears. Where's the map?
I'm here.
Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, back to Norita.
So we just have one last thing to talk about with Norita, and that is the ring, and Norman kind of re-proposing to Rita because he found the ring. It was not lost in the laundromat. It fell out of his pocket because there was a hole in his pocket.
Into his snow boot of all things.
I'm like, how did that happen? It was under the bed. It like bounced into his snow boot.
Those must have been some very short snow boots.
Maybe designed for a small woodland creature.
Oh my word.
Oh, but anyway, so why don't one of you take this scene? You'll do it justice. So let's talk about it.
Oh,
well,
Norman gets his brave on.
He gets his boldness on, and I think that, you know, he does a really, really good job of bringing it, just like Rita did. He brings it back around, you know, and he compares the situation with a lot of situations that they have gone through in the movie. And he just says, you know, things don't turn out the way you plan all the time, and you fall in love with the most amazing woman in the world, and you buy her a ring, and then you lose it, and you find it in your snow boot. And just Jeff has this amazing sense of expression because he's so silly and nerdy so much of the time. And then he gets, you know, even in the proposal at the very end, he goes back to Norman.
Yeah.
And is silly and very Norman like. But here it is so sweet, and he wants to share it. He becomes a man again. You know, because he wants to share it with everybody. But just like Sonny says, you know, when he says, I wish Oliver were here, he knows how to handle these things. Sonny says, so do you. And so I'm with Shane that I wish that they could have been there to share that moment, but I'm also with Oliver that it was something he needed to do by himself. He needed to do it on his own.
Yeah.
And it just, how he expressed his love for Rita. And we also know that Bill's big problem, one of them, Bill's big problem was that Norman lost the ring. That bothered him so much. And so the fact that he showed them, I found it and I am putting it on your daughter's finger because I love her so much and I respect her and I admire her because, and his whole analogy of the owl and how owls are wise and smart and beautiful and brave. It
was so touching.
It's so sweet.
Beautiful.
Even for a almost sort of kind of not really romantic.
You're falling. You're falling.
It's a touching scene. It won't make me cry, but it's a touching scene.
Oh, it is so incredibly sweet and perfect for Norman. I mean, especially to prove to Rita's dad that he's worthy, you know, he's worthy of his daughter. Like, he's not just some wimpy dude and like, he's not just some like klutzy person who's just like losing things everywhere. It was an honest mistake. Like, it was an honest accident, really. And he loves her with everything. And I just, it's just so sweet that Rita gets 2 proposals.
It is. Sweet. It really is.
And they're both equally as amazing. Like,
yeah.
And he touches on different things with both.
That's true. I didn't think about that. You know, we had to have 2 proposals so we could cover everything about how sweet and amazing this couple is. And then, you know, and then at the end, we get a little bit of levity because it wouldn't be Norman and Rita without it. And we get a little bit of levity with this ring. I thee engage you. And the look on his face, like, I know I'm being weird and it's okay.
So yes, sweet happy ending for a very sweet couple. And Dad is convinced now. As he should have been the first time. But
I wrote it down because I love what he says. He says, you teach your kids to love, then you turn into a jerk when they go out in the world and do it. And that was really big. Mm-hmm. You know, because a man like Bill could have just said, hey, we're good now. Hey, I think you're okay. You have my blessing.
Pat on the back. We're good.
Yeah.
We're cool.
He didn't do that. He acknowledged that he had a problem. Yeah. And he acknowledged I don't know if he actually said, I didn't hear the words "I'm sorry," but that's basically what he did. He apologized. So. And you know, that takes a lot of guts for a guy like Bill. Yeah. And I really, really love that not only are things okay, but things have been acknowledged. Mm-hmm.
So now we have our final segment, the best for last, of course, is Sholiver. Oh, we're now in a musical.
It's singing hour.
And it starts out with Oliver, you know, getting that yellow rose and just so very casually leaning on the back of a car with copies in hand, waiting for his
lady
girlfriend.
Love.
I don't know if they're calling it girlfriend yet,
no,
but
not yet. Not
a girlfriend. His
thing.
Let's refrain from doing that.
His boo.
His lady love.
How is that even better?
I don't know. That's not his lady. Let's say that his lady.
There you go. His lady. He is waiting for his lady with his and her coffees. So, and they walk together to work. Cue Oz.
Aww.
Come on, you guys are my romantics. You gotta have the sound effects there.
Oh. And they kiss
on the cheek.
That was a kiss on the cheek too. That was no peck.
Oh no, that wasn't a peck. But I kind of would have liked for him to kiss her back, or you know, I don't know, just a little peck on the lips, like "Good morning, sweetie."
And so on their way to work, they stop by this little junk stand where Shane finds a little treasure in the form of a blank oval frame.
One man's trash is waiting to become somebody's treasure.
I thought you liked antiques, you know, because you're a human antique, right?
And I love that Oliver just said, I believe that's where it's supposed to be. Very roundabout way of calling it trash. You know?
Yeah. I'm a little surprised like Oliver wasn't more like, you know, like antique. Like you think that would be like something he'd be kind of more interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
you would. No. Yeah, maybe. It's just there, you know, it's just kind of there. So it's...
But I feel like their next big thing after this was Sholiver, and this is where I disagree with Cammie on the MVP, is when Rita and Oliver go and visit Dale, and Rita goes away at some point, and Oliver has a conversation with Dale in the stairwell. Mm-hmm. And this to me, because Dale is way direct, she asked about Shane. She wants to hear it from Oliver, and Oliver gives his little roundabout answer or whatever of them being a thing.
Yeah, Dale says that they're so similar, but it's really interesting that you can see the big differences, because Dale is the one who says, Oliver, you can say it. Yeah. And you and Shane are, you know, I mean, she basically says it for him.
She does. Like, she knows. Like, she's not dumb. And yeah, what I think that she's the real MVP is not only is she like, she's willing to back off. She's not going to like sit there and try to be sneaky or anything and like try to like steal him. But she literally sits there and tells him why Shane is better for him than her. Like, she literally tells him Shane is better for you because of this and I'm not. Mm-hmm. Like, who does that? Go Dale.
Yeah, I mean, she tells him that they're too alike. That's why they can't. That's why they probably would not. That's why they get along as friends, but they probably would not get along together in a romantic relationship because they would be too much alike and they'd be too and sometimes if you're too much alike with your spouse, then that causes a lot of like friction and a lot of like headbutting too, because you're both very like set in your ways about whatever particular thing it is. And sometimes with Dale, she is very black and white, very she does not push the envelope.
Mm-hmm.
And she expresses that Shane sometimes colors outside the lines, and that is totally fine. And that's what Oliver needs. He needs somebody who
shakes
will push
him
him. Yeah, shakes him up, push him out of his comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. It's healthy for him to be taken out of that comfort zone, especially because the last 17 years he's been stuck in this box,
Mm-hmm.
and he does not go to the edge of the corners or anything. He's just in this box, and he's stayed stagnant for so long. And
there's
so
plenty of white around the border.
Yeah.
right next to the lines.
Yeah. So for Shane, pushing him outside, it's grown him as a person. And I think Dale sees that too. I think she sees that Shane has really helped Oliver come out of that box and has really helped him grow in different ways.
Yeah. And she even goes on to say, like, after they're talking about that, Shane, you know, pushes the envelope and, you know, all that, like he describes them as like a possibility of a mess. And she's like, or it could be beautiful. Like Dale is the one who's like, she's like their supporter in a way, you know what I mean? And it's, I just think that's a really standout move for Dale. So MVP for me for Dale is Dale. Co-MVP with Norman.
Yeah, but of the entire movie, definitely that scene and that situation, Dale is the MVP. But for the entire,
I just love Dale. I
know you love Dale. That is nothing new, you know.
Her and Lester, some of my favorite characters. I didn't say
they put them together.
Yeah, don't put them together.
No.
Not together, separately.
Bad.
Now that's the combination of opposites that will not attract.
Yes. No. There we go. There's a mess.
That would be a mess.
So Sholiver, as they are on the Kesslers farm, Oliver and Shane go on a nice little walk. And
with the hand
sanitizer. And there are like linking arms in arm, and Oliver gets the guts to ask Ms. McInerney.
Oh, yes.
Would you like to go steady with me?
Wow, Mr. O'Toole! This is all so very sudden.
He's like totally mocking him.
And then she realizes he's being dead serious. And she's like, oh, snap. You're not kidding.
Foot in mouth.
Which Shane doesn't do all that often. You know, it happens, but it doesn't happen that often. And so, yeah, this oopsie.
Well, Abby's the one that says to them, are y'all steady? So they're on the farm. So, of course, Shane's going to be like thinking that he's kidding because they spent this time with this little girl who's asked him if they were going steady, going to courting. And so she was probably thinking that Oliver was kind of teasing her a little bit because he does have some weird sense of humor. Like he's so deadpan serious, but he's actually really kidding or being a little sarcastic with her.
Yeah.
So of course she's going to be all, wow, Mr. O'Toole, let me bring on my Southern accent since we're on the farm.
Oh, so sudden.
Well, and I mean, and the fact that Oliver used the term going steady, that's not something that Oliver would say. You know, he would say, may I court you? You know, would you consider being a couple? You know, that kind of thing. But because Abby said going steady, you know, I would have thought that it was being playful as well. So, you know.
Well, it's interesting because in one of the deleted scenes that you can find on Alameda Downing, Oliver defines steady. That scene is actually extended, but there's a lot more in that conversation that happens. It doesn't just end with, oh, I don't know. Like he does define it in some odd sort of way. You'll have to go back and watch it. But yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting.
That is interesting.
Because I thought this exchange was a little short. And it was a little awkward.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I watched the deleted scene, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something about this movie is I wanted so much more from Sholiver. You know, I just wanted more, that because I always want more romance. That's me. You know?
Yeah. So my favorite Sholiver moment, this whole movie, is when they're walking in the sunset. The sun is setting behind them, just like the picture in my background if you are on YouTube watching. And Shane answers the question that Oliver had asked her earlier, which was, would you go steady with me? And she basically says, I will. I do.
It's what
she looked it up.
Going steady.
She looked it up.
And she gives him all these stipulations, including that she needs to be his first dance at Norman and Rita's wedding, which is so sweet. And then
he pulls the line out that she said to him, I only dance with you.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, I think with the fact that she danced with Jordan in Christmas and he danced with Holly in From Paris with Love, I think that those words that have now come from Shane and from Oliver, and I think that really puts that those are big words from both of them, because they have established they only dance with each other, which I think is very sweet.
It's so sweet.
It shows how far they've come.
Yeah.
I have a super random fact because I went down like 17 rabbit holes on the internet last night.
Oh dear.
I found it really interesting. There is a movie called Duck Soup, and there is a line from this movie that says, I could dance with you till the cows come home. And I just thought that was a fun little tie-in to this movie.
Oh,
that's precious.
He says it with the cows in the background. So if anyone's curious, 1933 Duck Soup.
Wow, that is a rabbit
random
hole.
line about cows coming home and dancing.
That is a rabbit hole.
I was last night at 2 a.m., guys.
Wow.
Yeah. But the scene is so beautifully shot too, with the sunset and the kiss. And when they come apart from the kiss, you can see the sun coming through. It's just, I just love it so much.
It's sweet.
It's so sweet.
All right. Well, that wraps up Home Again. That was a long one. And we're not done yet because we got trivia, y'all. All right. You guys ready?
Kaycee doesn't look too confident.
Nope. Okay, continue.
Ready? What is the name of the laundromat where Norman sends his clothes?
Tony's Tip Top Cleaners.
Very good.
It's dry cleaners, not laundromat. Just so we're clear.
I didn't want to give away I didn't want to use the name partially in the question, Candy.
I'm teasing you.
All right. Fill in the blanks. Nothing beats what?
Oh my gosh. Can you give us a little bit more?
It was like a defining quote from the family. Nothing beats.
Nothing beats. Hold on. I think I remember this.
Happy.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. Nothing beats hard work, happy cows, and hope.
There you go.
I don't know.
Those were the easy ones. All right. What song is playing at the very beginning of the movie when Oliver comes to get Shane?
Oh, it's from Kev Mo, but
it's
is it called Love My Baby?
No, that is a line in it, but it's not
I know it's a lyric, but I have no idea what the title is.
Hold on. It's
Dun, 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 dun. Gonna shout it out everywhere.
Dun dun dun. Fast or slow?
I love my baby, gonna
tell everybody I know.
There you go.
Tell everybody I know. Okay.
There you go, Postible's musical hour. All right.
There you go.
What is the name of the company that Mary Lou works for?
Hold on. Do I have that? No.
ABC News, NBC, MSNBC, Fox.
Told you you wouldn't write them
CNN.
all down, Cammie.
I thought I wrote it all down, but I didn't.
I have no idea.
I didn't write that one down. Nope.
She works for Roper's News Agency or Roper News Agency.
That's right. Yeah. It was there. It was right there. I did not write that one down.
Okay, this was just a fun one. It has nothing to do with something from the actual movie.
Oh.
What decade did going steady become a thing?
50s.
According to Wikipedia.
50s. 50s was the big going steady.
That is correct, Cammie.
I am obsessed with the 50s. I love the 50s. And the boys would give the girl the class ring and she would put it on a chain and wear it. That was the big thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Huh.
My rabbit hole didn't get me that far.
Oh no, when my husband proposed to me, he fooled me by saying that he brought me his class ring. And he put the engagement ring in his class ring box, so it looked all torn and old. And he said, I brought you my class ring. And my first thing was, oh shoot, I don't have a necklace that it could work on. It was all beaded. It wasn't just a chain.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, how sweet. And then he gets down on his knee. I'm like, oh honey, don't do this here. No, that's too much. And he opens it up. Will you marry me? I'm like, that's not your class ring. Those were the first words out of my mouth. So yeah, I'm a type. If I had to pick an era that's not my own to live in, it would have been the 50s. I love the 50s.
All right, I got two more. One is, what did Rita's grandmother memorize?
What did Rita's grandmother memorize?
We learned this when we were talking about. Norman asked where Rita gets her memory.
Yeah,
Rita's she memorized a postal code, right?
the phone book.
No,
the encyclopedia.
Nope, don't remember.
The 1972 federal tax code.
Oh, tax code. Yeah.
Okay, not a postal code, a tax code. Yeah.
And last one is another fun one, not from the movie. How many gallons of milk does one cow produce each year on average?
Each year?
Oh,
yes.
Man.
Gallons of milk per year, one cow.
I'm gonna go with 400 gallons.
Okay, and Kaycee, what's your guess?
279 gallons.
You're both nowhere near it. According to a site called Dairy Moose, it is 2,500 gallons of milk.
Now, what's that taken from? How many cows are we talking?
Just one.
So one cow gives over 2,000 gallons per year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing.
So there you have it, Postables. You know now a little bit about cows. You know a little bit about Cammie's love of the 50s. And you know a whole lot about home again. We so enjoyed talking this movie with y'all, and we're excited to come back again next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Deliver Me a Podcast. To stay up to date on all our episodes, be sure to follow us on Twitter @DeliverMeAPod and on Instagram @DeliverMeAPodcast. We also have a merch store where you can buy tons of postable things for you and your friends. We'll see you next week.